Straight open and done.
You got to go out there and handle your business. Open up doors, handle yours.
Guys, thanks for coming to the show today. This is the Opening Doors podcast. This is episode number 3, and I thought a good theme for today would be accountability and taking responsibility for one's life. I have a very special guest, a really good friend for a long time with me today, John Fritchman. Um, he's going to share his story. He's going to be kind enough to share his story, and what we're going to try to do today is extract all of the gold nuggets that we can, because like myself, John has made some major breakthroughs in his life, and I think the major theme with this is taking responsibility for your life and taking accountability. So um, without further ado, John, welcome to the show today. I really appreciate you being here. How you been, man?
I'm doing well, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I want to, what I want to do is I want to try to add as much value as I can to anybody that's watching this video, to see if we can at least help one person out there who is struggling, who is on the fence about making changes. Um, Not only that, but the people that are attached to them, because what we didn't realize when we were right in the midst of doing our stuff is that we were affecting all the people around us without even knowing it, or without even caring, I should say.
Yes.
So this is for loved ones too, because hopefully somebody can get something out of this and then use it to help redirect their life, or hopefully help. So tell me a little bit, like your upbringing, your background. What was kind of like your home life? What Paint that picture for us so we can kind of see how you grew up.
All right. Pretty much growing up, had a loving family for most of my childhood. My father, he was an alcoholic. He had a mean temper. So I had to pretty much deal with that growing up throughout my childhood. My mother, she was loving as well. Always involved in teaching us church and whatnot. Just simple things that a mother should do. Skipping forward to cut through like most of the history. About age 12, my father beat my mom up pretty bad. Seen the SWAT team there, so a divorce occurred. Lived with my mom's boyfriend, and pretty much from that point forward is where all my troubles kind of started happening. Kind of started rebelling.
So when you look back, I mean, because obviously, people have went through many changes like we have. You do a lot of reflection on, you know, everything, everything that you kind of experienced, every choice you made, every kind of thing. So can you recall, before that point, before 12 years old, do you remember ever noticing that something wasn't right, or what were some of the feelings you were having, leading up to that point, like with the home life? I mean, was there, I don't know. I mean, you said there basically uh, no actual event that happened until he
Right.
struck your mom. So like, take us into that. Like, what were some of the feelings like behind that? Just your perspective on watching your parents interact.
Well, towards the end of that time, I started to hate my dad. I really hated him because he was mean when he drank. You
So
know,
did you attach those feelings? Did you kind of attach that to the drinking, and kind of just, did you deep down wish that he would stop, or wish that you could figure out a way? Did you ever feel like it was your fault?
not felt that it was my fault. I just didn't understand it thinking back. I
Just that,
started to resent him.
yeah.
Yes.
So then after the event, after the divorce and stuff, what was the home life like? Did you split two households, I'm guessing?
Yes. Yes. And then my life then is when it took a turn. I started to go out, started drinking, just like my father, started going out with people stealing things, got involved in doing that. And I guess it was a way of, because they accepted me. And
You,
I guess everyone wants to be accepted.
yeah. So yeah. So what that makes me think of is I can relate to that because um, my parents divorced way before that, but when I was 8. But just off of reflecting, I look back and I'm like, I just think about what took me out to the streets and like what I realized, I think I realized this probably in my 20s is that I never had my dad around. So that was a little bit different from your situation. But um,
Yeah,
some of the stuff I realized is that like I grew up with two women, my mom and my sister. And I think I initially went out to the streets, like trying to I was looking for dad. You know what I'm saying? So the only way that I could get kind of close to him or learn how to be a man was to go hang out with the homies. You know what I'm
right,
saying? And so when you're doing drugs and alcohol, no, everybody's accepted. Like it's not like you don't fit in because of this. If that's the basis of the friendship, I mean, you're in. So it was easy to be accepted by doing those things. And did you ever feel like do you ever feel like that you started drinking because you were trying to be closer to your dad? Like, subconsciously, do you think it was like like, I don't know. I mean, because that's how it was for me is like I started doing that kind of stuff. I started doing the exact same stuff of my dad, and I didn't even know the guy. I did
right.
this. I started going down the same path, and I think subconsciously it was like my way of trying to be closer to him. So what do you think for you? Like, what was it?
Well, for me, it was to drown out the hurt, to deal
Okay.
with all of it. You know, it was the first time that I drank and just I forgot everything. So that's what kept bringing me back to that drinking.
Yep. And then what? And that. So that was that. Did you spend most of your time with your dad at your dad's house or your mom's?
I lived with my mom.
Lived with your mom.
Yes.
And so what was the interaction there? Did you ever resent her, or did you were just behind her 100% because of that event that happened?
Now I resented her as well because she had cheated on him. So this is what had caused all of these events.
I see.
You know. Yes. And so we had moved in with the guy she cheated on my dad with.
So that I'm guessing probably took you out to the streets even harder because
Yeah.
you did not want anything to do with that.
No, I felt that this tore apart my family.
So what types of things did you start getting into? Like the types of people you were hanging around with, and like what were you starting to do? Like what was it like?
Pretty much like I said, we'd all get together, drink, go out and go jacking stereos. This was at 12 years old, and it was a rush. It was exciting. I didn't have to be at home.
Yeah. So then, so you started hanging out with the wrong people, and uh, I mean, I guess for me, what happens is just like anything else, you start learning behaviors, and they become habits, and then they become attached to your belief systems, right? So what do you think? Thinking back then, what was some major beliefs that you believed back then? Like some deep values that you carried with you that allowed you to take that to make that kind of behavior.
Mm, as far as like being a person in general, like
Yeah, like did you ever reflect on like what your values and belief systems were back then? To
no, not really. Not thinking back on it now, not really, because I was still a young boy.
Yeah,
So I don't think at that time that I carried any belief systems per se.
Nothing like nothing like screw the police and screw the government and like stuff like that. That because I just look back on my stuff and I used to think, what I used to think is that I was entitled to everything, that I could use my mouth and my looks to get whatever I wanted, and it didn't matter who it affected, and that I was just entitled, that I didn't have to work for what I was supposed to have, even though I had a perfect role model as a mom. She worked 2, 3 jobs to take care of us, and somehow I got those values from somewhere that I didn't have to do that. You know,
Right.
so that's kind of what I was getting at. Was there anything that you reflected on? Because at some point, I mean, to be honest with you, at some point in your head, just like me, you made a change somewhere. There,
Yeah.
it was a change from something to this. So that's all I was asking. Is like,
Uh, Pretty much now that you laid it out like that, yeah, I was pretty much like fuck everyone. You know, I was a young punk.
yeah,
I didn't care about anyone.
right. And then it took you to when did you go to jail the first time? Prison, jail.
I 13. I went to Geneva for I believe I stole a moped and I was caught for that. So they sent me to Geneva Youth Facility.
Hi, how are you?
He just woke up. Excuse me for the interruption.
That's okay. Morning.
He said good morning.
So you went to Geneva, and I mean, did that what did that do for you? I mean, was it really just like I gotta go take a time out?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And then what?
Went went there, got on probation, got out, got off probation, went back to doing the same old stuff. And I believe right after that, I was caught with a short shotgun and ended up going to Kearney. And from that point on is where I got connected with the gangs.
The gangs?
Yes,
How old were you then?
15, I believe
15,
14 or 15.
14 or 15? Take me into some of that. Like how did what connected you with that, and how did you identify with them, and what really drove you towards it and attracted you to it?
Um, I guess the so-called quote family aspect of it, I felt like it was like a family. I felt like I didn't have any food because my mom was so busy working, trying to take care of us, but I didn't really appreciate it at the time or realize what she was doing. I felt that they gave me the attention that I wanted and needed.
Mhm. And then obviously, started doing other things and gotten deeper trouble of doing
Yeah.
more than just stealing stereos.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Started dealing with guns and stuff, heavier
Guns,
drugs.
drugs,
Yep.
you know, like thinking back on it now made me have an addiction. I'm an addict, you
Yeah.
know.
Did you look at it like that back then, or did you
No,
you thought you were just partying? I just like
just
to.
party.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you caught your first sentence where you were going to go to prison as an adult, how long did they give you? Like, what was your sentence? And then give me some of the what you were feeling when that happened, and like what you were thinking when you got sentenced that, and you were looking towards that.
You made me think way back. Um, I believe it was 1.5 to 3 years. Um, and I honestly can't remember what it was. It was either theft or possession with intent to deliver. And I can tell you exactly how I felt like I didn't care. I was going to go in here, do this time, come back out and hit the streets and do the same thing I was doing again. It was already in my head that I was going to come back out with more respect because I went and did my stuff, held it to come out, you know.
I'm gonna switch gears real quick. Let's go back again when you were a kid. Like what type of things like were you did you like what were like hobby type things? What were things that you loved before you were introduced to like the streets type of stuff? What were some of the things that you loved to do as a kid, and that you can think of?
Things I loved to do was ride motorcycles. I grew up down in East Omaha, and there was motorcycle trails all over, and that's what we did. Rode bikes, rode motorcycles, three wheelers, four wheelers. Pretty much just hung out outside, you know.
Always outside playing in the dirt.
Yes,
What the hell happened to that?
right.
I mean, looking at what's going on today, it's like everybody's like this, you know.
Yeah,
You try to tell the kids to go outside, and they're like, "Why? What's out there?"
right, right.
God. But yeah, different time. Isn't that crazy now looking back? Like we are the ones saying, "Wow, different generation," and like it's almost like we're the old ones,
Yes.
but we're actually really young. So I feel really young. I don't feel old. Um,
No.
so motorcycles hanging out outside, that's awesome. And then kind of lost track of that, going, starting to get into trouble because your attention's on something else, right?
Yes.
All right, fast forward. You got a 1 to 3 for some drugs or some random stuff. On Had every intention on coming back and doing the same thing. Why do you think that was?
Because at that time, I felt like I was committed to the gang life.
Okay, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
knowing what we do, the kind of life that we lead, it's inevitable. You're going back to prison
Yeah.
because the behavior is expected of you. You know what I mean?
You start building up a reputation for yourself, and
Right.
if you deviate from that, you're basically uh outcasted, kicked to the curb, and
Yeah.
uh quite honestly leave town.
Yeah.
I get it. So got out, wasn't caring, went right back to the same stuff. Did I think about that kind of stuff, and the reflection I've done, I'm like, man, it's because that's the only frame of reference I had. Like, I didn't have any other information to really think that there was anything different I could be doing.
Right.
Um, and also, I guess I can counter that and say, you know what, there was information out there, but I that's not what I wanted because to I was attracted to the lifestyle and the feeling that it gave me of it, it was almost it's like self pride, it's like false pride, right?
Yes.
It's like false confidence in things, because I'll go into that a little bit later, but like about true confidence, how you build true self-esteem, but all that stuff I can remember. I can remember thinking it was just it was false pride, you know and if you really think about it, it was like pride in what? Because it was just all it was negative for me.
Yeah.
So you got out, you didn't care, got back to the same stuff. Did you catch another sentence? Did you catch like obviously kept doing the same stuff,
Yes.
and then what?
Oh man, like I said, this is a long time ago. I went back to prison. I honestly can't remember what it was for. There's a few prison. I've been to prison like 4 times, so that might have been another theft charge or a robbery. Went back. Did,
So basically over the next couple years it was a in and out, just the same
and
thing, in and out. Let's get to this last sentence. Bec-
okay.
what can you recall when you at some point said, I got to do something different?
Absolutely, as it was yesterday. So, 5 years ago, I was released from a federal supermax federal prison, and we got in a riot with the police. I was in a lockdown unit for my behavior.
Where were
We
you at
got in a
again? You were at Terre Haute, right?
I was at Terre Haute, Indiana, Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, the lockdown unit, Hazleton, and Big Sandy. Um, but the last 2.5 years of my sentence was in lockdown. And so we had just gotten a riot with the police. We got flashbang, grenade, shot with pepper balls, and I'm in my cell, shackled, burning. Then I realized at that point that I'm surrounded by people who do not care about me. They
Yeah,
don't care.
let me go into that real quick because I remember in 2009 we were in Douglas County Jail together.
Yes,
Um, we spent a lot of time in there. I mean, we kind of knew each other for 5 or 6 years before that, or however long it was. But we knew of each other. We hung out a little bit. We were in SAU together, and then we really started spending time together
yes,
in Douglas County Jail, and really got to know each other, and really became friends at that point. But I remember you. I think you were back. You were in federal, but you were back to take care of like some charge you had in Douglas County,
yes.
and you were waiting to go back with that. And I remember words of you telling me that I almost want to say that you were almost on this path in Douglas County because it was a different John than what I had heard in previously when we were in prison in SAU.
Yes.
Um, you've always been kind of quiet and reserved and like kept to yourself and mind your own business and like followed the code, but there was a different aura about it when we were in the county together. And I remember you saying, I'm about to go back to the war.
Yep.
For people that don't know, guys, federal prison is it's nothing like most people will ever experience in their life. um John, take us into help anybody that's watching this. If they're getting in trouble, like paint a picture of what it's like in there to be in the war, because I don't really think people understand what that's like.
Well, my first day going to federal prison, I get off the bus, go through intake, get my bed roll. We're going. They're sending people off to their units. Comes my turn. I walk in the unit. I'm looking down, walking up the stairs, and all of a sudden, literally a human head comes rolling down the stairs by me. The white boys had just got done cutting off one of their own, decapitated him. So at that point, sirens going off, all these officers coming in, yelling lockdown, lockdown. Situation gets under control, and yeah, that was my introduction.
What were you thinking in that moment? Like,
I was thinking like, oh my God,
were
what,
you obviously scared,
not scared, concerned,
concerned?
like concerned, like, okay, now it hit me what I walked into. How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to get through situations like this? Because we never seen guys in state prison, Nebraska, have not seen the magnitude of what goes on in a federal prison.
Yeah, I can definitely, yes, definitely, because I would say you know I want to be careful saying it's not soft, but
No,
it's ran like the man, what's the basically the culture that they create in Nebraska.
yes,
The way that they present the culture from the COs and the wardens and everything is way different than any other state does it. And
absolutely.
it's almost opposite because I know that in most states, like the the prisoners pretty much run the institutions, and and it's not like that in Nebraska. It's like really they really have it to where, people are like not scared straight, but they're like always thinking about that release date because they got this, the way they do their points. And I don't know how to explain it, but and I've never been anywhere else, but just from, hearing stories from people that it's a little bit more uh laid back and conservative compared to, what some other places are like. But um going into that, after seeing that incident, at this point you're concerned, and now your awareness is on hyper mode, and you're like,
Yes,
how is this, what's the difference between state and federal as far as like a community of people? Because in Nebraska, there's, everybody I mean, pretty much just by the code, everybody's allowed to hang out with each other, but it's not like
right.
that in federal, right? And there's some other states that are like that, like California. It's like it's really segregated.
Yes. Federal, they hold. There's more accountability for your actions, for people's sentences. You know, they check your paperwork, and if you're, you know, messed up in any type of way, you're going to deal with those consequences. And like I said, a lot of accountability. And as you said, everything is segregated. You run with what state you come from. And if you don't fall in line, they deal with you, you know?
I want to touch on that for what's been going on. I'm just gonna, say 2020, like
Mm,
the all of the racism stuff that's been like super blown out of proportion this year. Um, and I just your opinion, like, what do you think? Because you and I mean, both of us, we're not, we've always been cool with everybody, but like, what do you think it means? What do you think systemic racism means? Like, just what's your opinion on it?
Systemic racism. I'm not sure I know the meaning behind systemic. Are you talking about systematic racism or?
Yeah, like so, like un the way I think about it is systemic is like underlying uh programs and things that are in place that fundamentally or subconsciously instill segregated and racist values into the fabric of our system. And so what the way I think about it is I think systemic racism is not like what a person, I don't think it's what a person's saying to another person. I feel like the systemic part of it is like job and school applications where you have to put your race. Any application where you have to put your race, I feel like that right there is systemic racism. And then to follow that up even further, where I was going with this in the prison, um, how everybody segregates. I don't know if that is encouraged by, the guards or by that or anything, or if it just happens by the inmates. But I think that, allowing that to happen is systemic as well, because those guys come out thinking that way.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Did So going through that, did you, because like I said, you and I have been we are with everybody. We're all humans, you know what I'm saying? And we've
Yeah,
we've always been around everybody. And so going through that, what was the feeling having to deal with something like that where that you'd never had to, deal with that before?
it was strange because as you stated, we've always been cool with everyone, and in there you're not allowed to do that, and I just didn't understand it. You know why we do this?
Yeah.
It was odd. I grew up around Mexicans. I speak Spanish. When I would speak Spanish to Mexicans in federal prison, they'd be like, "You can't do that.
You can't talk to us.
Yeah, you know, go back with
Wow.
your people." You know,
I can't imagine.
yeah. So it was strange.
So you had that riot and you had some kind of like awakening.
Yes.
Um I guess, like a breakthrough where you were like, I got to do something different. What do you think? What were the actions you were taking after that? Like, what were some of the things you were doing that, because, for me, it was just an everyday conscious effort to try to change the way I was thinking and what I was doing. So what it was your experience on that, and what were you doing after that breakthrough?
Um, I wasn't really doing nothing. I was in a lockdown unit. I was just waiting my time to come home, but I was listening to Christian stations. Uh, Dr. David Jeremiah was his name. So a lot of that helped me through dealing with being in lockdown so much. So it had that's what helped me have a change of heart.
Let's see. Um, for me, after I had the breakthrough, I grew up like a chameleon. I could hang out with anybody and I could be any, no matter who I was around, I could just be that type of person. And so, in a sense, after I had my, my day where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have to do something different. I was searching still. Like even like when I was on the street searching for who I was, I
Yeah,
I I read Christian books. I got baptized. I, you know, funny thing, I read the Dianetics, the Scientology stuff. I read Buddhist books. I mean, I went through every religion during that time that because I was like searching. I didn't know who I was. And I was looking for new habits. I was looking for new characteristics. I was looking for anything to be other than what I was because it wasn't working. And I don't know. So what I mean, do you can you relate to that, or can you remember searching like you just didn't know who you were, or what was it like for you?
pretty much I was searching. I know that I wanted to and needed to change my life.
But
But
didn't know
seeing
how.
didn't know how, but because seeing the stuff in federal prison, I knew I was either going to get out, come back again, and never get out, or end up dead in prison. That and my father was dying, and I felt that I owed it to him to make it out this time, to do something with my life. So I guess that's what all led me in that direction.
Do you
My heart, my heart was made up, and my mind was made up that I wanted to change.
do you recall like going through situations where, like where your reputation, you're expected to perform a certain way, and can you recall not following the old way of the old way you used to do things? Can you recall situations where you were expected to do this or do that, and that you took the fork in the road and went the other way? And was there any
Oh yeah,
consequences to that?
yeah. Well, I told everyone I was done. I'm not fighting. I'm not stabbing people no more. You know, and they was like, all right. Well, I knew what that meant, and again, I was in lockdown unit, and I was like a year to going home. I just didn't go to rec anymore. I mean, you call it what you want. People would, I don't know what I'm getting at here, but I was like, I've had enough.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, what people with the image that we had in there, they call it weak or whatever they want to call it. But um, when you get out here and you're around people that have lives out here, and I have more people now that say they would have done that exact same thing. And
Right.
I now looking back, I value society more out here than the society that I was living.
Absolutely.
Guys, thank you for joining us today. So what I'm going to do is this is part one. If you want to hear the rest of John's story, please like, subscribe, and share to this channel, and stay tuned for part two of John Fritchman's story. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you, John.
Thank you.